Ever get the feeling that history is less about names and dates and more about these what-if moments? Like, what if this one person hadn't spoken up? Or what if this one event hadn't happened?
It's those pivotal moments that really make you think.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today with Zoroaster.
Ah, Zoroaster. Now, there's a name that echoes through history.
You know the name, but let's face it, most of us probably remember him from like a history textbook or maybe even a trivia night. But what did he actually do?
What he did was pretty radical when you think about it.
He stared down the ancient world and dared to imagine a completely different way of seeing things.
And we're not talking about a minor tweak here. Zoroaster emerges in ancient Persia, a time and place where gods and goddesses were a dime a dozen.
Right, like imagine a world where your average Tuesday involves trying to appease a deity who might just unleash chaos on a whim.
Not exactly a recipe for a stress-free life.
Not at all. But Zoroaster wasn't about to simply swap one demanding god for another. He had something far more radical in mind, a complete and total paradigm shift.
A complete overhaul of how humanity understood the universe.
Exactly. And this radical shift in thinking, it all began with a question that likely plagued many in his time. Why is there so much suffering in the world?
Now, for most, this might have remained a philosophical musing, but for Zoroaster, this wasn't just pondering, it was the seed of a lifelong quest.
To unravel the very nature of good and evil.
Precisely.
And it's incredible how these simple questions, the ones that often keep us up at night, can spark such profound revolutions in thought.
Zoroaster's story is a testament to the power of questioning, accepting truth.
Absolutely. And the sources really paint a picture of young Zoroaster as this restless intellect constantly seeking deeper truths beyond the traditional answers.
He was never content with the easy answers, always digging deeper, challenging assumptions.
It's no wonder he found solace in nature, spending hours in contemplation. Almost like those quiet moments amidst the trees were fueling his insights.
There's something profoundly relatable in that image of Zoroaster seeking solace and understanding in nature. It reminds us that the most profound journeys often begin in moments of quiet reflection, allowing ourselves to question and explore beyond accepted truths.
And Zoroaster's journey of exploration takes a dramatic turn with his legendary encounter with the divine.
This is where things get really interesting.
Right. Picture this. A young Zoroaster by the rushing waters of a river. Suddenly he experiences a vision. Not an uncommon occurrence in those times, but this was different.
This was a vision that would change everything.
He encounters Ahura Mazda, a being of pure radiance who identifies himself as a wise lord.
This wasn't just another deity demanding tribute. Ahura Mazda represented something entirely novel for the time, a single, all-powerful god.
Okay, I have to admit, even knowing where this is heading, it still gives me chills. It's like Zoroaster stumbles onto the cosmic blueprint, this grand design of the universe, where it's not about appeasing a pantheon of temperamental gods, but aligning yourself with a force of pure good.
Precisely, and this is where Zoroastrianism takes a decisive departure from the prevailing beliefs of the time. This concept of Ahura Mazda introduces the revolutionary idea of cosmic dualism.
A universal battle between good, represented by Ahura Mazda, and evil, embodied by the destructive spirit Angrohenyu.
Exactly.
It's like suddenly someone hit the on switch for this epic cosmic drama with humanity caught right in the middle.
No longer just pawns in the games of capricious gods, but active participants in the struggle between good and evil.
And who better to deliver this monumental message than Zoroaster himself, chosen by Ahura Mazda to illuminate the path towards righteousness. Talk about pressure.
Imagine returning from such an encounter, tasked with convincing your family, your community, an entire civilization to abandon their deeply ingrained beliefs and embrace this radical new truth.
It's almost impossible to imagine the weight of that responsibility.
Right.
Walking back into your everyday life with this monumental truth, knowing you have to convince everyone around you.
Precisely, and let's be honest, it's rarely a smooth process. Challenging deeply ingrained beliefs, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as the nature of the universe, it tends to ruffle some feathers.
That's putting it mildly. The sources don't hold back on the pushback Zoroaster faced. Imagine being laughed out of your own family dinner for suggesting their favorite deity might be part of a cosmic evil empire.
It wasn't just skepticism, it was outright rejection. Imagine Zoroaster, this lone voice in the bustling marketplace, preaching about Ahura Mazda and this cosmic battle between good and evil, surrounded by people who saw his ideas as not just strange, but dangerous.
It's like trying to convince someone used to a black and white TV that there's a whole spectrum of color they're missing out on.
Right, a fitting analogy. And yet, amidst this resistance, Zoroaster persisted, fueled by this unwavering conviction in his experience and the truth revealed by Ahura Mazda.
And this is where his message takes on a whole new dimension, because Zoroastrianism isn't just about passively accepting the existence of good and evil. It's about actively choosing good through your thoughts, words, and actions.
And it's this element of personal responsibility that truly set Zoroastrianism apart. It wasn't enough to simply acknowledge Ahura Mazda, you had to embody his teachings, to fight for good in your own life and in the world around you.
So how does this message of personal choice of actively fighting for good play out in a world steeped in tradition and the worship of numerous gods?
Well, imagine this Zoroaster speaks of fire, not as a destructive force, but as a symbol of Ahura Mazda's power, a fire that consumes wickedness, but spares the righteous, a vivid illustration of the consequences of aligning yourself with good or evil.
It's a powerful image, one that transcends language and speaks to this universal human understanding of fire as both a destructive and purifying force.
Precisely, and it perfectly encapsulates the Zoroastrian belief that the battle between good and evil isn't some distant cosmic event. It's a fire that burns within each of us, and we have the power to choose which side we feed through our actions.
And this brings us to a pivotal moment in Zoroaster's story, his encounter with King Vishtaspa. Now, Vishtaspa wasn't just another ruler looking to add a new deity to the royal pantheon. He was already grappling with a crisis of faith, troubled by the corruption and injustice he witnessed within his own court.
Vishtaspa's reign was marked by a deep yearning for a more just and ethical way of ruling, a search for a truth that transcended the empty rituals and power struggles of his court. He was in many ways the perfect audience for Zoroaster's message.
It's like the universe was setting the stage for this epic encounter. The prophet with his radical new faith, and the king hungry for a better way to lead his people.
And their meeting was nothing short of dramatic.
Oh, we're talking full-on ancient world drama, right?
Right.
Jealous priests, accusations of heresy, the kind of stuff that would have kept the royal court buzzing for months.
Absolutely. The sources depict Zoroaster facing down Vishtaspa's priests, scholars who saw their influence waning in the face of this new faith. They accused Zoroaster of everything from blasphemy to sorcery, desperate to discredit him in the eyes of the king.
It's amazing how history repeats itself, isn't it? Every time a new idea comes along, there's always someone ready to brand it as dangerous or heretical.
It's the classic struggle between the old and the new, and in this case, the stakes couldn't have been higher.
So how did Zoroaster navigate this viper's nest of courtly intrigue? Did he have to pull out some divinely inspired debating skills to win over the king?
Well, according to tradition, Vishtaspa wasn't convinced by theological arguments alone. He challenged Zoroaster to prove the truth of his words through a series of trials tests designed to demonstrate the power of Ahura Mazda.
Wait, hold on, trials. Are we talking fire and brimstone here? Because I have to admit, that's not the image that usually comes to mind when I think of ancient religious debates.
The exact nature of these trials is shrouded in legend and symbolism. But the core message is clear. Vishtaspa needed more than just words. He needed tangible proof that aligning oneself with Ahura Mazda brought not just spiritual fulfillment, but real-world consequences.
So what were these trials? And more importantly, did Zoroaster pass? Because let's face it, facing down skeptical priests is one thing, but acing a divinely ordained obstacle course, that's a whole other level.
Well, imagine this.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here. Give me a for instance. What kind of test could possibly demonstrate the power of this entirely new way of seeing the cosmos?
One account describes Zoroaster proving his connection to Ahura Mazda by miraculously healing the king's beloved horse.
Okay, now we're talking.
This act, woven into the narrative of the trials, serves as a powerful symbol of the tangible benefits of embracing Zoroastrianism, appealing directly to Vishtaspa's pragmatic nature.
Okay, I have to admit, healing a prized horse in front of a skeptical audience, that's a power move. It's no wonder Vishtaspa became a believer.
Precisely. This wasn't about blind faith. Vishtaspa, like many, sought a connection between the spiritual and the tangible, and witnessing this display of divine favor cemented his belief in Zoroaster's message.
So Vishtaspa's conversion was a turning point, right?
Yeah.
It's not every day a king decides to go all in on a brand new religion. What was the fallout from this momentous decision?
Vishtaspa's conversion sent shock waves through ancient Persia. He didn't simply offer Zoroaster his personal support. He declared Zoroastrianism the official religion of his kingdom.
Wow. Talk about a royal endorsement. But I have to imagine this didn't exactly go over well with everyone. Change on this scale rarely does right.
You're absolutely right. Vishtaspa's decree ignited a period of intense social and political upheaval. Those clinging to the old ways, the priests whose authority was threatened, they didn't simply sit back and watch their world transform overnight.
This wasn't just a war of words anymore, was it? The sources mentioned battles, right?
The sources depict a period of intense conflict with Vishtaspa leading his forces against those who refused to accept Zoroastrianism. It's a stark reminder that even the most profound spiritual transformations are often intertwined with the messy realities of power and politics.
It makes you wonder about the human cost of those clashes. It's easy to talk about these historical shifts in ideology, but there were real people caught in the middle of this struggle, right?
Absolutely. Behind those grand narratives of religious and political change are countless individual stories of faith, loss, and resilience. We can only imagine the challenges faced by those who embraced Zoroastrianism and those who resisted it.
It's a sobering thought. So what happened next? Did Zoroastrianism eventually become the dominant force in Persia?
Zoroastrianism did flourish, becoming a powerful religious and cultural force for centuries in Persia. Its influence extended beyond the borders of Vishtaspa's kingdom, leaving its mark on art, literature, and even influencing later religious traditions.
So Zoroaster's legacy lived on long after those battles subsided.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think of his impact starting with a single question and ultimately shaping the spiritual landscape for generations to come.
And it's that unwavering commitment to seeking truth, even in the face of immense opposition, that continues to resonate with us today. Zoroaster's journey reminds us that challenging the status quo is never easy, but the pursuit of a more just and righteous world is a timeless endeavor.
And that's our deep dive on Zoroaster, a man who dared to challenge the cosmos and reshape our understanding of good and evil. From questioning the gods of his time to sparking a spiritual revolution, Zoroaster's story is a testament to the power of one person's unwavering belief to ignite the flame of change that continues to burn bright across centuries. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode.